Greetings, everybody. This is Sri Srinivasa, welcoming you all to yet another episode of itsdiff Academy. It's a great pleasure and honor to meet you week after week and then share insights from great leaders, entrepreneurs, and coach, guide, mentor, you name it. We have it. We bring in great people to share their experience, their success stories, and the learnings from their success, failure, and what they have observed in the industry. So today we have a great pleasure and honor to have Rajesh Setty with us. And to talk about Rajesh Setty, he's our friend, guide, mentor, and always, when I talk to Rajesh, I get a lot of great things about from guidance and help perspective to become a leader and also to succeed in entrepreneurial opportunities and also learning from a great person to be human of all the things. And Rajesh is he loves building startups, writing books, sharing his ideas as a public speaker, and also he is very fond of innovative ideas, innovative opportunities, and is constantly scanning them to see where else we can create value for the customer. So Rajesh is often referred as Silicon Valley's spark plug for startups and scale ups. He loves to bring these ideas through several channels, and it's not just related to startups, books, courses, and products only. He is his latest venture is Audvisor and MentorCloud. You might have already heard it. His latest books are 6 Foot World and Smart But Stuck. His latest courses are The Right Hustle and Tiny Shifts for Mighty Lifts. His latest products are Think Books and Thoughtful Cards. Being a polymath, Rajesh is constantly in the middle of running experiments, which is super important, isn't it? Right? Across variety of seemingly unrelated areas of interest, like as they say, being an innovator, you need to constantly look for opportunities, scan in the industry market, look at the customer trends and whatnot, and having a common goal of how to create a better world on the pillars of time-tested principles. So it's a pleasure to welcome Rajesh to our show. And once again, Rajesh, thank you. We would like to extend a warm
Namaskaram, sir.
welcome to itsdiff Academy show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. And then it was very interesting that the topic for today is your one of your recent ventures, and particularly the tiny shifts for mighty lifts. So, could you please help unpack this for us?
Definitely. See, I've been, as you know, I've been writing books for a very long time. And then I also know that many of the books, not just my books, many books, people take it and it'll become shelfware. It'll just sit there and they'll never read it. That's why I always tell people that when they take my book or when I give it to them as a gift, and I always tell that I only expect them to take it back. And then I'll never ask them, have you read it? Because then it's a big burden. Because now, my God, he gave me the book. Now I also have to read it, and then it's too much work. So what I found with people, many of them, is everybody is busy. At least they think they are busy. Most of them have time, but they think they are busy. But perception is reality, right? Everybody is looking for, what should I do? Is there anything I can do that a small shift they can do, but the results have to be very, very big. The incremental cost should be very low. Incremental value should be extremely high. What are those things? In fact, people say, they don't like change. I say they always like change, as long as it was with their partner or their boss or their friend or something. They only don't like change when it comes to them. Everybody else should change. The world should change and everything. They should not change. In fact, if you go further, they are okay to change as long as the cost to change is extremely small. The benefit is very, very high.
Mm.
So I put together a bunch of things from linguistic philosophy, Stoicism, the Gita. I collected all these principles and said, what are those things, small little things that they can do it now? By the end of this program, they don't have to say, okay, let me write it down. They can do it while we are on the program, and they can see the benefit right after that. So I thought we'll share one or two of them.
Sure. So I'm glad you mentioned at the end of it saying at the end of the show they can do it, which is good because learning things is one, but putting them into practice is the biggest challenge. So they always tend to like a procrastination. They'll say, let's do it later when I find time. That the question is that time never comes, right?
Correct.
So I'm very eager to know that from you, Rajesh. Please bring it on, sir.
Yeah, let's take the first one, right? So let's say if I want to share with you, Sri, for the rest of your life, what if I teach you one small thing, and when you use it, you will never have a bad meeting. And I say never, I would say 99.9% of the time we'll have a good meeting. The moment I say it, usually anybody, including you, will say it'll be a little bit of skepticism. How can we not have a bad meeting? That will always be the case, right? So um, so shall I share it?
Of course.
So it's like this. It's very simple. For me, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And before any meeting, be it phone call, in-person meeting, or by Zoom call, now it's all Zoomified, right? So Zoom call, whatever it is, I just pre-like the people. That
Uh,
means I'll just like them before I meet them.
okay.
So usually people talk about first impression is the best impression. I coined a term called zeroth impression, which means that impression that you have way before you meet them, that you Google them and all those things. You look at what they do, and then you have a bias. Like bias is this person seems to be A, B, C, D, E. Like we make some judgments, right? So suppose you drop all the judgments, and then we say, I'm going to like this person, whatever it may be. I'm going to like this person, and suppose we both know each other for a very long time. Let's say we didn't know each other. If I said, you should meet with Sri, before the meeting, I'll say I love Sri. I like him, and because it's my choice to like you, and I can't expect you to like me back. That is too much to expect. But you also can't stop me from liking you. What will you do? You'll take me to court saying this person likes me too much. Kind of, you can't do it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you do it, something changes in your brain, that first of all, you can't have a bad meeting with somebody you like, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Not possible, right? Is you have to work hard against the grain. Second, something interesting happens because your mood shifts to the positivity, right? You start looking for things to confirm your prior sort of um, belief that you like this person, right? So let's say whatever we do, anything that we have an opinion, usually we collect data to agree to that opinion. That's what we say. Suppose we like a brand of car, suddenly you start seeing the same brand of car everywhere, isn't it? So anything we do, there is always so much data, but we collect data that will support our conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So suppose I come to the conclusion that I like Sri, and everything I look for is what will support me in my opinion, the conclusion that I've already formed. The the other thing to think about is if you think of like a place of worship, so it'll be temple, mosque, or church or anything. When you go there, you rarely think about stupid things there, isn't it? So you cannot think of gambling or some anything stupid. Why? Because the place has those vibrations that it will make it very difficult for you to think of stupid things, isn't it? You go there with a feeling of reverence. So why? Because his worship happens. They also say work is worship. If
Mm-hmm.
work is worship, why is it difficult for us to bring the same reverence? We bring it in a place of worship to work. It's a choice that we make. And what happens when you go with that kind of reverence is it shifts your inner world shifts at the core, which is at the intent level. So when you like someone, your intent is to make it good for them. Whatever you can do to help them, whatever you wish well for them, right? So the same vibrations that are at the place of worship, we can create at the place of work, just with that one shift. Three
Mm-hmm.
like people, and then magic happens, isn't it? For me, I don't remember any bad meetings because once in a while, here and there, it happens, right? That's why exceptions don't break the rule. In fact, they make the rule, isn't it? The exceptions exist just to support that the rule is there. Otherwise, it will be we'll have to be gods to say every time it happens. But overwhelming amount number of times, you have a great meeting. way more than normal for most people. So that's the first one. What do you think?
Definitely, I like it because it's more like a open mind, having a clear focus and a positive thinking, so that you just put all the negative thoughts outside. Just like if you go to the place of worship, as you said, you just go with a single focus and then say, okay, calm your mind. It's very meditative, Rajesh.
Yes,
So if I can see if I am close enough to what you just said, it's like you need to have a clear mindset, and that will give you a good attitude. So you put a very good positive attitude that will change your behavior.
100%, Sri. See, think about it this way. Everybody knows that moods exist, right? So there is no question that everybody will have some mood. But what people forget is that they create the moods. Moods do not create them. Moods is because they are creating the first thing. Sometimes they become slaves to the moods. I'm in a bad mood. But who created it? You, isn't it? When they're in a good mood, they don't give credit to themselves because they created the mood, isn't it? So
Hmm.
when they're in a bad mood, they suddenly think the bad mood is like haunting them. So somewhere it came and it just took them over. No, if you created a mood, you know you can shift the mood to whatever you want it to be because you are the master. Mood is your slave, isn't it? So if you go with two moods, there are so many moods, but two are very, very important. One is the mood of acceptance, and the second is the mood of wonder. So why mood of acceptance? Because you cannot fight with reality. In a fight with reality, anybody fights with reality, reality always wins. The
Hmm.
score will be 1-0, one will be reality, will be zero because you just cannot fight it. Now we both are here talking to each other. That reality we have to accept it. You could be somewhere, I could be somewhere. You could have been doing so much thing, but you are doing this and I am doing this. You cannot fight it. That's the mood of acceptance. It's easy to accept when a situation like this in a meeting, but any other time, whatever is happening, whatever be the situation, that accept non-accepting it will not change the situation, isn't it? So if you go to late for a flight, the flight leaves. You can bang your head to the wall or bang your fist to the table. It's not going to make the flight come back.
Correct.
It's going to just stay as it is. There is no other choice but to accept it. So once you accept it, next is comes the mood of wonder. Now that I accepted it, where next? What should I do next? Will be in There's so many possibilities. Once you have to accept it, the reason you don't see the possibilities is you don't accept the reality. The mind is all, wow, why did this happen to me? That traffic was too much, whatever. So many things going on in your head, it gets muddied. So there's no clean space for you to birth possibilities. So, which is where the mood of wonder comes in. I am here is the mood of acceptance, where next is the mood of possibilities. So, once you understand this and get deep into your psyche, there's very little things that will upset you because you're immediately accepting it, isn't it? It's game over because you give the power when you don't accept it. You take the power when you accept it.
Totally. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So I like the way you said that mood of acceptance and then mood of wonder, right?
Yeah,
So it's all in the individual, and again, how
correct.
your perception and how you react to situations, basically, and what you
Exactly.
learn from what has happened. That's kind of my key takeaways from this. I
Yes.
remember, Rajesh, one thing, when kids in sports, they say if some mistakes happen, don't brood over that. You just say, clap, clap,
Hmm.
think about what next, move on. They say clap,
Correct.
clap, what next, move on. And pretty much you summarized it very well, saying mood of acceptance, and then you accept it, and then mood of wonder. So definitely you can just be productive and not repeat the same mistakes again.
Exactly. See, sometimes people say that you have to bring your heart, soul, mind, brain, everything to the place of what next to do, right? Because all of us have only one thing at what we have to do next is the only one thing that we have. Because anything else, there is no control on it. You don't have control on the past. You can only reimagine the future. The present is what, where there is seemingly have to be some control. Even there is not enough control, isn't it? There can be earthquake, there can be so many things. Some small level of control is because we're right there in front of us. Even there is only one thing we can do, is what to do next. So for that, if you want to bring your everything into this, heart, soul, mind, brain, thinking, everything, if your mind is occupied about why this happened, why am I here, and all those things, then you're not bringing your everything. Some of it is taken over by thinking about the past, some of it is taken over by what will happen in the future. So this present requires your full power, which
Mm,
is where even with full power, you don't have full control, isn't it? That's why
mm,
what does the Gita say? The main teaching is that attach yourself to the actions, detach from your outcome. Why? Because the outcome is requires some outcome to come. It's a multi factorial, isn't it? There is multiple factors to come into the picture. Your part is only one thing, that is only one factor in it. So many other things have to come together. So obviously you cannot be attached to the outcome, because you don't have control on the other part. You don't have control on the weather, you don't have control on what other people are doing. We both are recording it live. We don't have control on the internet, we don't have control on the software, we don't have control on the desktop. Nothing we have control on. We showing up fully is the only thing that we have some control on, isn't it? Even the involuntary functions we don't have control. Hopefully everything is working fine, the
mhm.
heart, brain, the blood circulation and everything. But if our mind and brain are also occupied in things fighting reality, imagine how much less control we have on the outcome.
Okay. And so this is very good. It's a very nice explanation. I mean, for the Gita. Karmanyavadhikaraste mahaleshu kadachanaha. That's the thing you
Yes,
mentioned. I like the way you simply said attached to actions, detached from outcomes. Thank
yes,
you very much for that. Once again, dear listeners, just a little reminder: this is Rajesh Setty as our guest for today for itsdiff Academy, and this is Sri Srinivasa. And we always love talking to Rajesh about some wonderful insights on career, leadership, management, and also life lessons. So we are talking about tiny shifts for mighty lifts. So that's where we are talking about. So, Rajesh, one question I have is, give me some tips. Give us some tips on, okay, how do we get into that kind of, sounds philosophical, but what are some of the practical tips that you could give to get into that state of mind?
yeah. See, think about this, right? So basically, let's say we want to build a new habit. So let's say this new habit, whatever I am talking about, like how do we make the tiny shift and get mighty lifts? So if you think about it, to pre-like someone, it's just a choice we are making. There is nothing to do, isn't it? So many times when we want to create a new habit, with the moment you use the word habit, we think there is work to do.
Hmm.
Isn't there is something I have to do. There are many habits you don't need to work to do. You have to do a being upgrade. That means we both are from the software. When you install a new software, let's say version 3 to version 4, version 4 does not think I have to do more work. No, the features that are built in is already it. There is nothing more to do, isn't it? So version 3, you didn't have that feature. Version 4 has it. Nobody says Photoshop version 7 or something, oh, it's doing more work. It's just being it, isn't it? So human beings are also like that. So from right this moment, I can choose that I'm going to pre-like people before I meet them. That's it. There's no other work to do,
Okay.
isn't it? Now it's difficult to decide because the whole world says you need to do this, you need to do that. There is no the your words will create your worlds. The moment you said you need to do this, there is notion of work comes in. If I say upgrade your being, then it's too difficult to do it. There's nothing to do because it's all upgraded, isn't it? It's a once you choice. Now I was version 3, now I'm version 4. That's it. You're over. Game over. But now you see the magic happens because whenever people listen or watch this, they can try it very next time. Who am I meeting? Oh, I'm meeting my colleague, or I'm meeting my brother.
Okay.
I
Okay.
pre like the person. Oh, okay, more. But everybody wants to do something. They don't have to do it, isn't it? I'll give you one more.
Sure,
Like,
definitely. I like it, and let's note it down. In that case, we will like the person, like the group,
yeah,
everybody when we go to the meeting. So we'll go with the open mind. So that's the
yeah.
key takeaway from this. Thank you, Rajesh. Hmm.
And also, I know there are so many smart people who are watching and listening. They will, one of them will come and say, it's not authentic. I really don't like the person. How can I make myself like him? Right?
Okay.
So what do we do? So I always say, maybe you're 40, 50, whatever is your age, right? So I always say, until now, how many decisions you would have made in your whole life? I always ask them. They say, I don't know, so many decisions. Is it 1 trillion? I ask them. No, 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 1 trillion. That's too much. Is it 100? No, 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 it's too less.
Hmm.
Is it a million? Somewhere it has to be some number, isn't it?
Yeah.
It cannot be infinite. So, whatever is that number, let's say a million, just for the sake of it. How many decisions were the right ones? Now it depends on the self-esteem of the person. Some people say 80%, some people say 50%, some super humble people, maybe 30%. It all depends. There is nobody is writing down this decision. Yes, no, yes, no. Nobody is doing it, isn't it? Life is not like that. But imagine, let's say you're super positive and you are 80% of the time you are right. Maybe this is the same formula will apply here also. You pre-like
Hmm.
the person, 80% of the time it will be right. But when it does not happen, let's say you pre-like the person and he was really a nutcase, what will happen? You switch to the mood of wonder.
Hmm. I see.
What happens? What might be the problem with him, or what might be happening? What is that he is seeing or I'm not seeing? Like when does an argument happen? When you want to prove somebody right, and at that time you want to prove the other person wrong. Rather than that, let's say we ask a different question. Let me understand what is the basis of his or her version of the truth.
Hmm.
It completely changes. You immediately switch over to the mood of wonder rather than in a mood to win. You say, let me see. Obviously, the other person's version of the truth is different. So nobody wants to argue when they think they are wrong and they want to prove that you are wrong. They are thinking they are also right, isn't it? But which means there are two versions of the truth. My version of the truth is something I'm thinking it's right. Their version of the truth is what they are thinking is right, isn't
Hmm.
it? Now you just want to be an investigator, explorer, detective in a mood of wonder. Tell me more. 3 words, it will make magic. Whenever somebody says, "Oh, I believe this," and you are completely opposite of it, you just ask, "Tell me more." You will go layers and layers into the depth of their thinking. And sometimes I've done this. It's magical. As they start talking about more and more about whatever they're believing, they themselves will change it. I don't have to change them. They will say, "Oh, I was start thinking on this." Rather than a fight, it becomes a exploration.
Yeah, and it reminds me what you just said is like look at what they are trying to say rather than who said it.
Oh,
Basically,
exactly. Exactly.
famous couplet Saint Thiruvalluvar said, right, in India, right, of
Hmm.
southern part of India. So look at what they are trying to say rather than who said it or how they said it. So that you'll be able to focus on the real the message rather than shooting the messenger, right? And then
Yeah, yeah,
you're
exactly.
going with a preconceived notion, or like you said, if you have that hatred or some kind of a feeling that you have, so you don't focus on the actual message to see what next course of action. So very much it fits what you just said about the mood of wonder. You just accept it, mood of wonder, and then of course you can still analyze and go to the
Yeah.
next one. Wonderful, wonderful,
You
Rajesh.
think about it. If you ask anyone for that matter, are you open to feedback? What will they say? Yes, only. Because if somebody says, I'm not open to feedback, what a knucklehead. How can he be not be open to feedback? So they will say, what the society expects them to say? They will say, yeah, I am very open to feedback. But in their mind, they're open to feedback as long as you don't find faults in them, as long as you don't tell them anything they don't believe in, as long as you don't scold them, as long as you don't say they're wrong. But all the things, conditions fulfilling, they say they're open to feedback. But if they're truly, and depends on who the feedback giver is, right? So I always say, don't let the bias to the source of the feedback dilute the value of the feedback, isn't it? So feedback is feedback. The easiest way to give some feedback for those people is to change the source.
Okay.
Just say, if it was, I was discussing this with someone, I think he's a PhD in neuroscience, and he was telling that this may not work because of this. Suddenly their eyes will light up. Then you can tell them, no, no, I just made that up, man. I just wanted to see whether you'll agree with me or not. Like that, you can have fun with those people.
It's like it's more like a forcing them to say, you should agree. You agree with me or not? You better have to say that, right? Cool, cool. I think a lot of key learnings, Rajesh, on this one. So especially make a tiny shift for mighty lifts. Okay,
Yes.
what else you'd like to say
I
to?
would say, what else is people? Let's take another one. It's like, if I give them a secret to happiness with a tiny shift, would that be interesting? Probably yes, right? So actually, if you think about it, so if I ask a question to anyone, what makes you happy? So the moment they start answering the question, the game is lost. Why?
Mm,
Because you think about it. Suppose I ask you, see, what makes you happy? You say, let me think. Okay, one, two, three. You start writing, the game is over. Why? Because whatever be the size of that list that you write,
mm,
what does that implicitly mean to things that are outside the list? If these things inside the list makes you happy, what about things that's not in there? Not happy or no feeling? Something we start questioning, isn't it? So now the list becomes finite. Whatever way you start writing, oh, I have 1,500 things. Yep, but it's still limited to 1,500. So the only way you can respond to that thing is, what makes you happy? Is, why should something make me happy if my default state is to be happy? You have to work hard to make me unhappy. It's not like I'll be I'm waiting for something to be happy. So how do you do it practically? Practically, there is a term that I coined called threshold reset. So
okay.
the threshold reset means, first is to recognize that there are thresholds for everything, isn't it? So
Mm,
when you want to wake up in the morning, there is a threshold. It's sometimes people say, no, I cannot. I need at least 6 hours of sleep. That is their sleep threshold, isn't
okay.
it? It may not be true. If somebody does deep meditation, they may not even need 6 hours, but they may not be aware of it. But assume that 6 hours is the threshold. So some of the same town, maybe their sibling, they say, "Oh, I need 8 hours of sleep, otherwise my head will hurt." Their threshold is 8 hours. It's in the same household. They were brought up by the same parents, but the
Mm,
thresholds are different. Each person is different. Similarly, there is also a threshold for happiness. What makes people happy? Usually, the threshold is set very, very high. By knowing or unknowingly, they set it very, very high, which means somebody will think, for somebody to make me happy, they have to give me a bubble bath, they bring some ice creams, and take me to like a circus, or there's so many things in their mind. Oh, then I'll be happy.
it's a big list goes on. Mm,
Yeah, but who say made that list? They only made that list, isn't it? Their threshold was very, very high. Then they also do the other thing. There is a twin attack. The other attack is to be annoyed. Their threshold is very low.
I
All you
see.
have to do is, I think you look like an idiot, man. The moment you said it, what do you think, you are Einstein?
Mm, mm,
I'm an idiot. What do you think you are? Suddenly they get so upset. So my thinking is, first of all, they keep the happiness threshold very high,
okay.
annoyance threshold very, very low. What
Mm,
if we reverse it? Let's say we choose to keep the threshold for happiness to be extremely low, which means somebody can say, someone can just smile at them, and they say, "Oh, this I'm very happy," isn't it? Because they smiled at me. and somebody cooks something so beautiful, very tasty, they can be very happy. Somebody just holds the door when you are going out, and they say, "What a kind gesture!" That can make them happy. They can see a flower that's blooming, that can make them happy. That you can find countless reasons to be happy. Sometimes, people say, "Oh, there is a power cut." They've never seen, most of them, when there is a power cut, if they're upset, I always tell them, have you been to India, rural parts of India? Say no. Oh, okay. So because they don't know the difference between what the power cut is, a daily activity happening there. So here
And
it happens.
yeah, when you had a power cut, then what we do is we'll feel happy. When after you look outside and see, oh, the entire neighborhood has got power gone, so I'm happy. So I'm not the only one impacted.
Yeah, it's people, if they don't have another reference, no, you take things for granted. There
Sure.
is no reference point. Sometimes a small thing here and there, the bus is some taxi is delayed by 3 minutes. You find reasons to be upset all the time
Okay.
because you don't have reference points. That will say that things may be really really bad outside. So you should not take anything for granted in life, first of all, and you should be extremely grateful for everything, because at any point in time, anybody who is listening to this ever, the fact that they are listening or watching, they have more than most people, at least a billion people,
Okay.
because some of them don't have running water, some of them they don't know what is internet, they don't have power. If they're listening, already they're more than a billion. More happy should be more happy than at least a billion people, right? They don't think of it that way. They look at people who have more than them, so which will be the several billion, isn't it? So then they start comparing themselves. So imagine we don't have to do any of those things and say my threshold to be happy is very very low. I
Mm,
just said it, and just because I said it, it is real for me, not for anybody else, but for me it's real. I can watch the same movie at least 100 times and then watch it the same jokes, because I just set myself to do that. Somebody else may think I'm mad, but I'm happy. There is no question about it. In fact, I set my annoyance threshold to be so high that it is very difficult for me to make me annoyed by anyone, because I have to give them permission to make me annoyed. Without my permission, I cannot be annoyed. They cannot. See, the headspace is the most expensive real estate we have, isn't it? So, what we put into our headspace is decided by us. So, if we choose not to make it enter the headspace, it won't, because
mm, mm.
the keys are only with us.
Correct.
I can be banging on the door looking for the combination lock, and I keep changing the combinations however I want. They'll never find the exact numbers that will open my headspace door for them.
So as you say, it's all in the mind. So
Right.
one thing, thank you, Rajesh. One thing I wanted to say is like, will you be happy? Yeah, for the time being. They always add the last one. If I get a big TV, 70-inch TV, will you be happy? I'll be happy for the time being. If I win a lottery, will you be happy? For the time being, like you always had. It's like you said, it's
Yeah.
the mindset. And thanks for helping unpack this for us. Thank you so much. And now we,
Remember, Sri, there is also another force that is operating.
yeah.
So the way people tell stories and the powerful storytelling frameworks that are there, and
Mm,
access to media, visual and auditory and everything,
mm,
makes marketers amazing storytellers compared to before.
mm,
When we are exposed to the work of brilliant storytellers, we forget logic.
mhm,
So, which means they say, if you don't have the Apple TV, then you are in the dark ages, man, because Apple TV is everything.
mm,
Somebody will say Netflix, Prime TV, you can just keep on naming whatever they want to sell. They will make
yeah.
it look like without that, whatever that's selling, without that, they should be unhappy, because the world is, they lost something in the world. There is nothing. Most of the time, there are people living in the Himalayas. They don't have anything. They are super happy, isn't it? So all the things that other people say you need this to make them happy, first make sure that you know that they are the ones. I am the one who will choose what I need or not. They can't choose for me.
Right.
It may be them. They need it. I don't need them.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost, I mean, how you take it, right? So thank you so much. So just wanted to remind our listeners, so what you just heard Rajesh talking about us on the topic tiny shifts for mighty lifts, and he covered two topics for today: how to have a good meeting almost every single time, and he gave a solution for that. In case if you missed, you can always rewind and watch. And the second one is how to be happy, setting up a threshold. And again, this is It's Diff Academy. If you wanted to support our show, like, subscribe, comment, and share it. That'll be good. If you wanted to sponsor our show, please do send us an email. It's diff@gmail.com. And you can also put it on the comments. I'll also giving you a coordinates. And second thing is, just want to let you know in this, since Rajesh Bhai also mentioned about India, in this tough situation, pandemic situation for COVID-19 impacts in India is so high, huge. So I'm sure all of you must be supporting this in your best possible manner, supporting the non-profit organizations and other NGOs with whom you are working closely in their oxygen equipment, and also fronting the frontline workers. We salute the frontline workers for all their efforts and help that they are providing. And I'm sure, please continue to do your support to help India get out of this situation soon, with the Almighty's grace and all the goodwills and blessings and all the great work from the frontline workers. So I just wanted to let you know, and in case if you think that you're still looking for how to support and stuff, just do send us an email. It's diff@gmail.com. We are a couple of us working with other non-profit organizations here who will be able to point to a couple of organizations. Then you can be set on to help them. And thanks once again for those who have already been helping. And this is the time where we have to show united force to help as a community. And I wanted to take the opportunity on behalf of It's Diff Academy. I just wanted to share that. So good thing, Rajesh Bhai. Thanks very much for that. What else? So you gave a lot of good tips. So and key takeaways for us in this short 35 minutes. Appreciate. I think these two key takeaways. We'll have to do it, monitor, and then measure so that we can tweak it better. Anything else
100%.
you would like to say, sir?
Very good. I think I had a good conversation. I'm sure the both these things are very easy to implement. You reset the threshold, and you like the people. It's as simple as that. There is no work involved. So you just upgrade your being and watch the magic unfold.
Yes, I think that is super important. I'm just thankful for your time, sir. And I just wanted to let people know about how to get in touch with it. It's tiff@gmail.com. And Rajesh Bhai, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to
Same
learn
here.
from your insight. Once again, dear listeners, Rajesh can be found at rajeshsetty.com, RAJESHSETTY.com, as I've provided earlier. And one more time, I'll just give Rajesh Shetty's website here so that you can get in touch with him. An entrepreneur, a speaker, a coach, mentor, and also he is helping all the startup companies in the Bay Area, and as a guide, and also a good Samaritan and a well-wisher as well. So Rajesh, once again, on behalf of It's Academy, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
And, we will see you in our next episode. Thank you so
Very
much.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.